So I got a question or comment about funny animal comics and how much I use them and did I use them in my animation. So let's look at some of the early ones that I got. And when I was first getting started with my interest in animation, I picked this up at the local comic shop. And I had really never seen too many Disney comics. So this one is Thumper Meets the Seven Dwarfs. And I got to actually see the Seven Dwarfs as comic characters. And I didn't know much about how they drew these characters, seeing as how I wanted to draw superhero comic books. And I would just look at this and just marvel at how beautifully drawn these comics were. There's this great double page spread coming up here. So here the guy is about to cut into the pie that his wife made him. Suddenly, out jumps Thumper, Dopey, and Doc. This beautiful 2-page spread. And I just marvel at how these things were drawn. It really impressed me. And I tried to copy one or two of the characters in this, and I still have that drawing somewhere in one of my old sketchbooks or piles of drawings on separate papers. Such beautiful drawings here. Really great. I think it was that one that I copied of Thumper pointing. So then the rest of the comic has Jiminy Cricket and Nayok, a little boy in India, I guess. Brer Rabbit story with Uncle Remus. Brer Bear and his family. This is the comic book version of the Tar Baby story. And then after that, I found this one about Mickey Mouse and his surprise birthday party. And I had seen this Mickey Mouse before in comics. Once in a while, somebody would slip a Mickey Mouse comic into the stack. And so I turned the page and I came to this story here, the comic book adaptation of the Mickey Mouse cartoon, The Brave Little Tailor. And I said, wow, I never saw that Mickey Mouse in the comics that I had seen before. And it looked different. It was a different look than the other ones. And I just found these drawings again to be so nice. Look at this drawing here. See a line of action for the head to the body down to the leg. One line across for both arms. This leg lifted up to show that he's excited. Just so nice. The way the bridge is drawn here, the way they handle the bricks, the water in the moat, the leaves. So many things you can pick up from all of this. Look at the way the guy drew the water here. And just things are handled and drawn with such volume. This giant with all this volume in his fingers, make his face and his head look so ginormous compared to Mickey down here getting caught in his teeth. Then they do a Sorcerer's Apprentice adaptation, and it's well done. Really nice treatment of the backgrounds here, the shadow of Mickey coming down the steps. So it's nothing like the animation, but they use some of the same types of setups. They get done with it in a page and a half. And then after that, it goes into these Mickeys. And I had seen this handling of Mickey Mouse before. And I didn't really care for it when I was a child. So that was my Mickey Mouse stuff. Then I picked this one up, and this has the comic adaptation of The Reluctant Dragon. Very nicely drawn. You can learn so much from these comics about posing, lines of action, inking, finishing the drawings, compositions of the panels. Everything just so well thought out. I should find out who actually drew this. This might be maybe one of the MGM guys. Might be Harvey Eisenberg. But I don't know for sure. I'll have to ask some of the guys if they know who did this. And then it goes into other stories. The Ugly Duckling. A Mickey Mouse story. And then a Peter Pan story. Mickey meets Peter Pan. What else? Another Jiminy Cricket story, meeting Pluto. And then the Peter and the Wolf story, which was one of my favorite Disney cartoons. I love the character designs and the animation in this. The way they handle all the characters, the way the wolf is drawn in this diagonal panel coming down to attack. There's so much to learn when you look at stuff like this. Another Brer Rabbit story with Uncle Remus. And this time he's meeting Brer Fox. And then this last story is Bucky Bug. I like the way they design these characters. Dots for eyes. Very simplistic. Very easy, clean designs here. So that's stuff that I had. I think I had all three of those back home. This one has a bunch of different artists. So this first story is by Carl Barks, and he wrote it and drew it. And you see yet another way of handling character and the compositions. This is printed on really slick paper, so it's got reflections on it. Then there's a Mickey story. Don't know if Floyd Gottfredson did that one or not. Paul Murray. So, getting back to Carl Barks, the way he handles Donald and the nephews and Uncle Scrooge, so nice. Panel compositions. He's walking off here towards a tree. Doesn't see this little wire here, and he trips on it, pulls the wire, and this fox thing comes out. And I guess it's part of a trap or something. But just the way Carl Barks handles all of his panel setups, his compositions, the continuity, more importantly, the writing to get you interested in the characters and the storyline. Great stuff to learn from. So here's some really old comic book here. This one is from 1960. There's a Carl Barks story of Donald and his nephews. And again, look at the way this is laid out. The way the characters are drawn. The way the panels are set up. So much to learn here. Really great stuff there. And learning from these old comics, you can do your own comic. So my buddy Mark Christensen did his own book of his characters, Sir Sid Sirloin and his friends. And he was greatly influenced by Hanna-Barbera. So his characters have a Hanna-Barbera, not style, well, a Hanna-Barbera style look to them. And he just created his own book. And you can find Mark on his website, Mark's Cartoon Art, markcartoonartblog.com. I'll put it in the description. So he wrote this and drew it. And as you can see, it looks a lot like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons because he's a big fan of that. And so he used his talent and his interest to make his own book. And when you do your own book, you do it the way you want to do it. Really great artwork here. Always loved his art. I've known him a long time. Just inspiring work here. You see his great drawings and his inking style using a lot of thick and thin lines. So the line starts thin, gets thicker, gets thin, almost even, then it gets thinned out here, thin up there. It gives the drawing a lot more to look at by doing that. It makes it a lot more interesting using a thick and thin line technique like that. So take inspiration and create your own books, your own films. Here's a Carl Barks comic done in the same size, but I think they may have taken a regular comic and recomposed it and cut it up to make it fit this book. And so there's a double page spread, there's a panel up here, there's type across there. It's different, but I think they adapted a comic book to this. They being the publishers. Really great artwork here. Notice people in the foreground, silhouette. As you get in the middle ground, you can see them more clearly. But in the far background, they become just dots and circles and solid color. Really great stuff here. Great big book here. One of my favorite covers by Carl Barks, the Sheriff of Bullet Valley. Always liked that cover. And this is Donald and the nephews go out west. And for some reason, he becomes the sheriff and has to keep law and order. And of course, there's a bunch of crooks trying to undermine him. You can learn so much from looking at Carl Barks comics. how he sets up his gags and puts his stories together. Some wonderful stuff. This is a pretty long story. Notice how they don't put page numbers on it, so you don't get caught up thinking about, well, how many pages is this? So I think he did this one too. Donald's girlfriend Daisy, and I'm pretty sure he did this one. I guess this is going to be space travel. Or maybe it's just around the world travel. So you can learn so much from these old books. And I know there's new ones out there now you can learn from too. And like this one. Let's see, I don't know when I bought this, but it's dated 1990. And this is an imported story from Italy. And it's been translated to English, but look at the way these guys draw, or this guy draws. Romano Scarpa. Notice how the panels are very simplistically rendered. His handling of the bush and the trees above the fence there. You know that's a fence. You know this is a street with bumps on it. You see the clear poses of Mickey and this dog character that's yelling at him. There's so much to get. Look at the clear poses and the staging. You know exactly what's going on in every panel all the time. So much to learn. So keep an eye out for comics that interest you and see which ones you can pick up and learn a lot about drawing and cartooning from. Try and make your own comic, make your own film, do it your way, but learn from the best. So keep drawing and keep having fun, and we'll see you next time.